Welcome to Handheld Gaming Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at the Anbernic RG406V. This is one of Anbernic's more premium handhelds with the same T820 processor you'll find in the RG Cube. At the time of recording, this thing sells for around 245 bones or 165 eagles. You can find this thing a little cheaper on AliExpress, but the price isn't so different. I'd recommend that over the Anbernic website. Give it a few weeks though, and this will likely change. I've had this thing for a little over a week now, and I'm absolutely loving it. The black transparent case looks amazing, and this thing feels really solid in the hand. So let's get into the details. First, the screen. This thing sports a 4-inch IPS display in a 4:3 aspect ratio with a resolution of 960 by 720. The screen size is amazing, and the 4:3 aspect ratio is perfect for the retro titles this thing can handle. To be honest, I wish they had this screen in a horizontal configuration, and I would prefer this over the 1:1 aspect ratio of the RG Cube. An RG Cube with this screen would be just about perfect. In terms of quality, there are no noticeable light bleed issues, the pixel density is fantastic, and it goes dark enough to play in bed next to your partner and bright enough to play outdoors while you should be watching your kid play soccer. Looking at the I/O, we have a decent D-pad, ABXY buttons, start, select, Android home back button, a USB-C port, micro SD card slot, a 3.5mm audio jack, and some shoulder buttons that are digital, not analog. The RG406V also sports some updated thumbsticks which compared to the rest of the Anbernic range have a full range of motion and from what I can tell don't do that cardinal snap thing. They are actually analog out of the box, which is a welcome change. There's also a fan for blowing air out of this air hole. Much like the RG Cube, I haven't noticed it blow hard. It seems to keep things under control. In terms of look and feel, as I said, it looks great, and as for the feel in the hands, it has these convenient little grooves that your fingers can rest in while holding. It has the same limitation any vertical handheld will. That being, compared to a horizontal, your hands will cramp up with extended play sessions. Having said that, I'm really loving this thing in a vertical orientation. It really brings me back to the Game Boy days and works well. For long gameplay sessions, the form factor is better than the RG40XXV from a comfort perspective, but it is a chunky unit. Not exactly pocketable if you're a Type Pan aficionado, but it's also not huge either, at least not as compared to things like the Steam Deck. In terms of features, you'll get Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, some down-firing speakers that are okay I guess, a 6-axis gyro that I haven't used, 1080p output via the USB-C, an inbuilt vibrator, and some RGB for the new sticks. Just going back to the speakers, look, like many of these retro handhelds, they are serviceable, but nothing to get too excited about. I mean, you pay chicken feed, you get chickens, right? My point is, you can't go expecting Steam Deck quality speakers when you paid less than a quarter of the price for something that has more gaming performance than the PC I had in university. Getting into performance, you're looking at playing up to GameCube and PS2 titles on this thing, which on this screen looks great. I won't go so far as to say it will play all GameCube and PS2 titles, but the games I've tested so far, including God of War, all play great. In terms of what comes in the box, it's pretty standard Anbernic offerings. You'll get a USB Type A to C cable for charging, a user manual, and a very welcome tempered glass screen protector that fits this screen perfectly. In terms of the OS, this thing ships with Android 13 out of the box, and it works well. This time around, I opted to get the 128GB SD card with some included ROMs, just so I could test its usability out of the box for you. If your burning question is, can you play this straight out of the box? The answer is yes. Yes, you can. I'd still recommend following the Retro Game Core guide to setting up an Android device for the best experience. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, but out of the box, this thing works great. In fact, for 245 bones, you'd be hard-pressed to find a mainstream gaming console that will give you access to literally thousands of games that let you relive your childhood, or in my case, play all the games that you were too poor to afford as a kid. When eating a Devon Sanger at school, there's not a lot of room in your household budget for the latest AAA titles. Or if you're not an Aussie, bologna sandwich with ketchup on white, I suppose would be the equivalent. I should say the 128GB SD card I think cost me around 10 extra US dollars from memory, so build that into your price if you're looking to get some included ROMs. In terms of button feel, there's not much to complain about here. They feel great, good size, not noisy at all. The thumbsticks are something a bit better than a Switch controller, but not as good as an Xbox controller. The location of the thumbsticks is also not super comfortable, but also not horrendous either. To be honest, unless your focus is PS2 games exclusively, I think the placement of these thumbsticks is the right choice. If you're playing PS1 or older titles, the thumbsticks are about as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike, so they may as well be in a secondary position. The shoulder buttons, I mean, they do the job. I'd have preferred analog shoulder triggers and perhaps more of an offset in terms of placement, so you're not trying to figure out which one you're hitting, but for the titles this thing can handle, digital is better than nothing. Battery life, look, I've not timed it myself, but you'll get hours and hours out of this thing. I charged the unit up when I got it, went away camping, played it on and off over a number of days, and the standby didn't drop the battery too much, at least not that I noticed. I've only just had to charge this thing up, getting the 20% remaining warning the other day. I can totally believe the 8-hour life quoted on the website if you're playing less demanding titles. So who is this thing for? Someone who doesn't mind a device that's not pocketable but wants something smaller than a Steam Deck and gives them those Game Boy vibes. Would I pick this over the RG40XXV at 2.5 times the price? Well, if all I wanted to play was PS1 or older titles, probably not. But for the extra flexibility, not to mention all the benefits that come with an Android device, if you have the bones and want something more versatile, you can't go wrong with the RG406V. Would I recommend this thing? Absolutely. To be honest, if I could only choose one of the retro handhelds of all those I'm fortunate enough to own, this thing ticks almost every box for me. I've spoken about this in my previous videos, but I just can't get over the bang for buck or quality for the price you'll get out of the Anbernic product range. One thing I will say is their quality control could probably use some work. I had originally planned to review an RG40XXH a few weeks ago. Well, I had to send that unit back as it had some weird thumbstick issues. On the plus side, the return process through AliExpress was super easy and I was refunded almost immediately. I will have the new unit I ordered as a replacement ready for review soon. I haven't opened the package yet. In fact, I'll insert some B-roll here of me pointing to the package, or maybe me pointing to it being opened as we speak. Consider hitting that subscribe button if you want to see if the new unit has the same issues. If you've made it to the end, a big thank you for taking the time to watch my video. I hope it's helped if you're in the market for a 406V. I'm getting closer and closer to my goal of 1,000 subscribers every day. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.